Namaste everyone. My name is Vaishali Shah. I welcome each one of you to our session on Hindu culture and lifestyle, a book series which is based on our website hinduscriptures.com. You're watching us live on our Facebook page hinduscriptures.com. So today we have a very interesting speaker who is going to talk about my favorite topic, uh, destiny and free will. So before we start our session, let's do a small prayer. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Welcome, Ashwini ji. Welcome to the session.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vaishali ji, for
Uh,
inviting me.
Ashwini ji, before we start our session, I want to read out a small introduction about yourself to our audience so that
Mhm.
they know who you are. Ashwini is a finance professional and brings over 25 years of experience from the corporate finance world of India and US. She has held leadership positions in multinational organizations and is a recipient of several awards in her corporate finance career. As an Vedic astrologer and tarot consultant coach with 10 plus years of consulting in traditional and KP astrology, Ashwini helps individuals recognize their strengths, blind spots, karmic balances via empirical astrology so that they can be more proactive, anticipate challenges, and plan corrections in their lives. She researches in ancient Indian narratives, meditation, empirical aspects of astrology, and is also an avid trekker. Ashwini is a chartered accountant and All India Merit Ranker, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, certified public accountant, and holds a bachelor's of commerce degree from the University of Bombay. So, Ashwini ji, thank you for joining us today. Please tell us something about your primary years of life, as in how did you start and why did you think of astrology from
Astrology.
finance? No, it's a
Mm.
different stream.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure being here. Uh, so, as you know, my background as a finance professional for the last 25 years, astrology always fascinated me, since college times. I used to read a lot of books from the library, etc. But once I got hold of Parashar Hora Shastra, some friend of mine suggested. And when I started reading that, I realized, it is so in deep, pretty confusing, and okay, you get a lot of knowledge, but you don't know how to apply it. So it's okay. All the basics, fundamentals, you can understand, you can learn, but how do I apply it in a horoscope? And that's where I really felt I needed tutor. And thanks to Ai Jagdamba's Krupa, I got in touch with late Sri Ranade sir, who taught me astrology for 5 years. He's no more, but he's a banker. He was a banker and had been practicing astrology for 40 years. His father also was an astrologer by profession. So I was fortunate enough to, learn from him, to practice with him. After which, last 10 years, I branched out and I'm consulting on my own. So basically, I learned the Vedic Jyotish, the Parashar Hora Shastra from him, as well as the Krishnamurti Paddhat, which is a pretty recent method of astrology. So that's how my journey started, and it's been a fascinating learning experience, and a fascinating journey also. You know.
But I think I understand what is Vedic astrology, but you have
Mhm.
mentioned some other things also. Please tell us something about that because what is the difference and what is those type of astrology?
Yeah. So, see, the origins of astrology can be traced to Maharshi Bhrigu, who possibly, analyzed lakhs of horoscopes and documented them. But and also the Bhrigu Samhita came about. From there, Rishi Parashar's Hora Shastra is a very probably one of the first texts that is available in Jyotish, and it comprises of 97 chapters, and this is our Vedic Jyotish or Paramparik Jyotish or traditional Hindu Jyotish, which Parashar Rishi wrote, and he was supposed to be at the times of Mahabharat, which we know is now more than 7,500 years old. So possibly Parashar Hora Shastra is that old. And I also learned Krishnamurti Padat, which is about, in the 1900s, very recent, less than 100 years old. And the basis is always Vedic or traditional, but it is slightly simplified version of the Vedic Hora Shastra. So for me, the advantage is I can corroborate. So predictions based on one, I can corroborate by predictions based made by the other method, So Parashar versus Krishnamurti, and that helps me in predicting. So that's an advantage that I have. But there are many other systems. There is Jaimini, there is Lal Kitab. I mean, I don't know much of them, but then there is Varahimir, Hora Shastra. So there are several. There is, of course, Western astrology, and we can get into details, maybe later during our talk. But there are several streams of astrology, and Parashar being the most oldest and the foundation of our Vedic Jyotish.
Okay, that is interesting. But now, when you say astrology, how accurate can you be? Because that is the first thing. Before I ask you the technical questions, you have to tell me the authenticity, accuracy, because that is something which everybody is questioning.
Yeah.
Everybody says those so-called intellectuals who are questioning. So let's first build the ground that on what basis we say it is
Okay.
accurate, and how perfect, and your predictions can be 100%
Yeah.
sure, all that. So let's create a perfect ground, and then based on that, I'll ask you technical questions.
Oh, all right, fine. Actually, that's a very good start, because this is a very frequently asked question to me, not only by my students who are who learn astrology from me, and also, but also my clients. So, I have a small presentation. If you're okay, I can share that with you, which I normally, so that,
Yeah.
some of these questions, that how accurate it is, and, that can be answered through the presentation. So whether it's a science, that's a very frequently, let me just share, and will I be able to share this? So how you'll have to
Yes, you
enable?
will be able to. Yeah, I have
Okay,
done. Give it.
okay, okay. Just give me a second. Yeah, can you see this? Can this be seen? Yeah, I can't hear you. Okay. All right.
I generally keep myself on mute so that
Okay.
recording your sound only comes if there is any
Correct.
oh yeah, you can.
Disturbance. Yeah. Fine, fine. So let's get on with this. So couple of very frequently asked questions to me, is astrology a science? And there are so many debates and misconceptions and about whether it is a science or whether it's an art or whatever it is. And the second frequently asked question to me is, especially by the clients that come for consultation, is everything predestined? If everything is written in my horoscope, it's going to happen the way it is written, then why should I even bother to make any effort or even do a analysis of it? So very, very frequently asked questions. So let's take these two, to begin with. So let's come to the basic of astrology. What is exactly astrology? Astrology in our Vedic times used to be known as Jyotish, and it was a combination of astronomy as well as astrology. By astronomy, I mean it is broken into two parts, Siddhanta and Samvita. Siddhanta is a Ganita Skanda. Ganit means the calculation part, calculation of the positions, calculation of the actual degrees of the planets, whereby the actual horoscope is made, So the making part of it. Then Samvita is all the eclipses, study of motions of planets, the Murta Shastra, the comets, shooting stars, effect on the world at large. That is a Samvita. So we have the Ganita Skanda, we have the Samvita, and where we come into picture as astrologers, the first two parts we can attribute it to astronomy, the calculation part. As astrologers, the Jataka Skanda or the Hora Shastra, that is the Parashar Hora Tantra or the Phala Jyotish, that is study of the effects of the planets at the time of the birth of an individual on his life, on his personality, on his life, on his decision making, on the various possibilities, propensities, likelinesses in his life, etc. So that is where my interface with the clients come. That is a Hora Shastra. Now, So these are the basic fundamentals of astrology, 3 parts of astrology. Uh, how is an horoscope made? What is an horoscope? What is a kundali? There are so many kundalis. There is a chalit kundali, there is a kasp kundali, there is a janma lagna kundali. So what is basically a kundali reflects the position of stars and planets at the time of birth, place of birth of that particular individual, and date of birth, of course, that's most important. And it is it is geocentric in nature, as if we are sitting, because a person born is born on the earth, so he or she is, the baby is on the earth, and when that baby was born, how was the stars and the planets reflected in the sky? Where were they? Where were the nakshatras? Where were the various rashis? So it is geocentric in nature. So of course, we know it's a combination, a permutation of 12 zodiacs, 12 rashis, 12 houses or bhavs, 27 nakshatras or stars, constellations, and planets. And all these at the time of the birth of that individual, and how they have a role on the personality and the life of that individual. So it is said, it is proven that planets create vibrations when they are moving in their orbits, which get arched on the newborn, the consciousness of the newborn, and that is called cosmic chemistry. You see, Vaishali, you would have noticed that, especially it's winter time here in America, but when the sun comes, in some days, you feel good, you feel energetic. Wow, you want to go out, you feel fresh. It's dark when there's no sun, you feel very dull. Similarly, you must have heard that during the Purnima and Amavasya, the lunatics, it has an effect on the mind of lunatics. So just as sun and moon, which are also called grahas in Jyotish, they're actually stars, but they're called planets or grahas in Jyotish. Similarly, other grahas also play a role or play a part in the person, in an individual's life, and it is very well calibrated and very well known now. And of course, these 12 bhav or the houses are approximately 30 degrees. They are not they are imaginary houses. They are 30 degrees. Each sign is 30 degrees. The entire Kranti Vrutta, or the Earth's path, or the ecliptic, is 360 degrees, in which these signs, Rashis, the 27 nakshatras, which are of 13 degrees each, divided. And the most important is your ascendant, the star which is rising on the Rashi, which is rising on the eastern horizon at the time of birth. That is a very, very significant factor which influences the life of an individual, similar to the moon sign, similar to the moon nakshatra and the sun sign. The main transits, the antardashas, the pratyantar dashas, the mahadashas. You must have heard of Rahu dasha chal rahi hai, Shani dasha chal rahi hai, or Shani ki 7.5 chal rahi hai. So those kind of things, So those play a very, very critical role in. So the basic kundali may have a yoke of something that might happen or that might not happen. But whether the dasha is supporting, whether the Gochar Brahman, the sun's transit or the moon's transit is supporting that particular event. People come, will I get married this year? So his main original kundali may have a yoga. Yes, there is a marriage yoga in your life. But when will it happen? So that is what the dasha will, or the antardasha or the pratyantar dasha, they will they will decide whether that there is, what is the likelihood of that event happening in a person's life. So these are the kind of basics, very, very, very basic level of Jyotish, that I'm trying to touch upon. Now let's come to the question: is it a science? Now let's understand what is science. So this is the definition of science from Wikipedia. It means a Latin word meaning knowledge. It's a systematic enterprise that builds and organizes knowledge in the form of testable explanations and predictions about the universe. Now, isn't astrology just that? It is empirical in nature. It builds and organizes knowledge. That is, we collate the various data points when we discuss with the clients. We explain away or explain why a particular thing would have happened or might happen or why not, and then hence predict the future events for a person. So that is exactly what I think astrology in, and I firmly believe it's an empirical science. It has its limitations, but if an astrologer sticks to the rules of the Hora Shastra or whichever stream of Jyotish that the astrologer is following, it works. It really works well. So I feel astrology is empirical in nature. And why do I say that? Even Maharsh, the sages, by empirical I mean what can be noted, what can be tracked. Even our rishis in the past, I believe it is said that Bhrigu Rishi had documented 5 lakh horoscopes. So just imagine, he has documented them and found out the results. If so and so star or so and so planet is this is the position, what has happened in a particular individual's life, what has happened in another individual's life, and that got documented and formed the basis of the Shastra, the science. And what is a Shastra? It is humongous rules, thousands of rules. As I said, Parashar Hora Tantra is 97 chapters, about 1,000 pages, full of rules. If this and this, what will happen? If this and this, what will happen? So, how did they emerge? They emerged when the sages over thousands of years noted down what is happening in the lives of individuals because of a certain planetary position. So, astrology is definitely an empirical science, you can say. It will have its limitations in the sense, I wouldn't say every astrologer can boast of being 100% accurate 100% of the times. Normally we are accurate 85 to 90% of the times, most of the astrologers, and we may be accurate 100% accurate in some situations, but not in all. Or we may be overall 90% accurate in all the predictions that we have made. And I have an interesting slide which I can share with you about my, scorecard, what I have been able to score over the past couple of years, few years. So it is said that 78 to 80% of people believe in astrology, but at the same time there is a lot of skepticism also on about astrology, and all these kind of questions that you raised. Is it a science? Is it accurate? So let me explain what this empirical means. So here are the guidelines. So various Jaimini astrology, you have Varahamir, you have Bhrigu Samhita, you have Parashar, with all the guidelines, etc., which is the discipline of astrology. Then you have the astrologer, and on one side. Now, what does the astrologer do? He or she, the skill lies in interpreting. The skill lies, and the skill improves with intuition. The better the intuition, the better is the, and let's come to how you can improve the intuition. We have a solution for that also. So here is an astrologer which interprets all these guidelines, to give the prediction. A person may ask so many questions about maybe the career, education, relationship, marriage, health, wealth, children. There are that's a life, and everybody goes through certain phases and certain problems, certain ups and downs, and people do have questions. And I always say, if you don't have a question, please don't come to an astrologer, because it's of no use. We don't go to a doctor if we don't have a health problem. You just don't go to a doctor and say, Jara, just check me, for what? And the doctor would ask, where is it paining? So in the same way, one should go only if you have a problem in life, or if you need to make a choice. Should I start a business? Should I give up my job? Should I change my job? Should I do biotechnology or should I do biomedical? These kind of questions, if you have, and if you're seriously not sure, then yes, astrology may find some answers for you. But otherwise, if all is smooth, I would say, let's just have a coffee. I would tell my clients, no, let's not discuss your horoscope. Let's have a coffee. That's it. So here is a discipline of astrology. Here is an astrologer. There are guidelines. There are interpretation skills and rules also to interpret them. Then, based on the interpretation, the various propensities are predicted. The likelihood, of what might happen, what might not happen, how likely things might happen, or how bad is going to be the time, or how good is going to be the time. Now, there is a continuous exchange. So this is a consultation outcome, and there is always a continuous exchange between the, it's not a one stop thing. I mean, one shot thing, like somebody comes, shows me the horoscope, okay, tell me what you can see, and goes off. It is never like that. Like, I have my clients with me for the last 10 years, and they start with an individual, then the spouse joins, and the children also come. So it's a relationship, and then that's how I kind of tabulate what I have predicted. I track what I've predicted, and I see what, whether it has come true, it has not come true. So it's a give and take. It's a continuous synthesis, give and take. There is a feedback loop. Now, with this synthesis, feedback loop, and between the seeker, that is the person asking the question, and the astrologer, what is most important is the sadhana part, the tapasya part of the astrologer. So I have experienced in the last 10 years that the more meditative you become, the more prone you become towards sadhana or japa or mantra chanting, the better is the outcome of a prediction. That has been established, at least in my case. What I was 15 years back and what I'm today, because my meditation journey, my sadhana journey also started 15 years ago. And the quality of my predictions, the quality of my skills to be able to interpret all those rules have certainly improved, and that makes a proficient astrologer. And this is, I think, the entire gamut of empirical astrology. So I think, I hope I've answered your question, whether it's a science, Vaishali, or it's accurate or it's not. And we'll come to the accuracy part also. As I said, I think no individual astrologer can be 100% accurate all the times in all the situations. It depends upon his interpretation skills, the sadhana, tapasya, and some luck factor also. I think in my overall, in the last 5 years, if you see, I have achieved about an 85 to 90% accuracy overall in my predictions. And I'm giving you, I think, the 2019 scorecard, I think I have in this presentation. So I will take you through that also. And so definitely, I would emphasize that to be effective, accurate, adhyatma is important. Meditation is extremely important for an astrologer. See, what happens is, as I said, it's a permutation of 27 nakshatras, 12 planets, zodiac signs, and the 12 houses, right? And every horoscope will have all of this. Okay. Every horoscope will have a Saturn, every horoscope will have a Rahu, every person will have a Rahu Dasha. How much importance to give? And that is why our skill lies, whether Saturn being placed in the first house, 10th house, 7th house, what is the strength of Saturn? Is there any counter effect which is nullifying Saturn? Saturn is supposed to be bad, but that's another deep topic of discussion, but not all the time. Is there any counter positive effect to any malefic planet? What is the benefic? How much is the strength of the benefic planet? How much is the strength of the malefic? So all that. So it's a permutation, you can see, it's not an exact 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Because if exact interpretations were possible, then, one would just need a software, churn out my predictions. But that doesn't happen. A software can make a horoscope, can find out the degrees and etc., the calculation part, but the interpretation part, I think that is where the sadhana helps. And one thing which I learned and which Ranade sir taught me is that always stick to the bounds of the rules. Whatever rules have been given. Of course, I must say that some of them probably have been lost with time, but don't say because your intuition says something. He always used to teach us, don't just say because intuitively you think. Does the rule say so? Yes, then say it. And if it happens, fine. And if you go wrong also, that's fine. But at least you've not just kind of, made a blatant statement because you feel like, no astrologist should say something because he or she feels like it. If the Shastra say it, then you say it. Otherwise, I think there have been times where I have told my clients, look, I'm not able to predict because right now the dashas are not showing anything. They're neutral. So there is a chance it might happen, might not happen. And we should have the confidence to even say that I'm not able to answer. So I think an astrologer should also be very fair, to the client if he's not able to give and that's possible. Not having an answer is pretty possible. So that is, I think, I've tried to address the first question too. It is huge. Yeah.
You have, but I still have a couple of questions based on your
Sure.
presentation.
Sure.
Can you just go back to the slides from the beginning? I'll ask you because before we take the second question, I feel that first question, I think we should clarify a few
Sure.
things.
Sure, sure. So,
Previous,
which
it's right from the beginning.
right from the
Just
beginning? Okay.
write down. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is the one.
yes. So when you said Siddhant and Hora predictions,
Mhm.
Jatak, I just want you to define those things in one line because I mean I know personally, but for a complete layman to astrology,
Mhm.
I want them to understand the importance of astronomy in astrology. So with this
Oh,
we
yeah,
will
yeah.
get, yeah.
Yeah. See, astronomy, which is a part of Jyotish, is important because the calculations are important, right? If we go wrong in calculating the horoscope, all the predictions will go wrong. So the calculation part of a horoscope is extremely important. Where is a particular planet at the time of birth, or the time, place, and date of birth? These are the three important things. That is extremely important. So it is
Question is, yeah,
uh,
but do you, uh, when you say planets, the positions,
yeah.
those planets don't change their positions. I mean,
No,
I
no.
just don't,
Yeah, yeah, no,
because
no.
here I want to understand if the importance of astronomy. There are so many celestial bodies in the sky, in the universe, and in
Correct,
the
correct.
space that they do
Yeah,
change their positions. They do
of
come
course.
between. So I
Yes.
want you to
Yeah.
clearly define that how accurate our astronomy is. Because that we what NASA can predict about eclipse and other things spending hundreds and
Yeah, yeah,
thousands
yeah, yeah.
millions of dollars. Our 50 rupees का वो क्या कहते हैं पंचांग will tell you the same thing,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So
Right.
the reason,
So,
yeah,
right.
the reason being that our Panchang, as I said, the Jyotish Shastra can be traced to as the astronomy part can be traced to as old as 40,000 years, and it used to be used in trade and commerce for navigation in those times, and the nakshatra system is can be traced to 14,000 in the Ramayana times. You have a nakshatra based astrology in Ramayana, and of course the astrology, astronomy, these words have come now. It was Jyotish. It was always Jyotish there. And so 40,000 years for people used Jyotish for seeing the position of the stars, whether to start. Also, we know, the Lori, we just finished Lori. So the festivals, the nakshatras to start a particular thing. So as old as 40,000. And the Ramayana has references of the nakshatriya system, that is our constellations, etc. Whereas Western astrology doesn't follow much on the constellations. It's more tropical in nature. It is a tropical system, where ours is an Nerian system of astrology. And of course, the planets change their position. They are rotating, right? Each planet is rotating around itself and around its ecliptic, in its ecliptic. So what is important is at the time of birth, date, birth, and time. So the horoscope is made as of that time. Okay, the dashas, which are done to predict an event are the today's dashas. Like today, suppose you come with your horoscope, I'll first see what dasha is going on for you, what are the transits, where are the planets positioned today. So, but I cannot ignore how they were positioned when you were born. That is equally important. So the birth time position and today's position. So there is something also called the Prashna Kundali. That
Mm.
is, when you ask a question today, I will also cast the horoscope of now, whatever it's 10:30. Today is what, 8th February 2021, 10:30 Atlanta time. I will cast a horoscope. That is also a separate stream of science, and it was so advanced. In our times, as I said, at least we have evidence 40,000 years old of astronomy being used, and 14,000 years old of astrology being used. Ramayana times. Ramayana happened 14,000 years ago. And we have references in Ramayana where nakshatras was, and ours is a nakshatriya system. And so Parashar Hora Shastra, which probably 7,000 years old, has mention of 7 planets, Sun, Moon. So Ravi, Chandra, Mangal, Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn. Also the nodes, the Rahu and the Ketu, which are the imaginary nodes, where moon's ecliptic and sun's equator match at an imaginary point. And and I would say the astrology, the Jyotish says that nodes, that is Rahu Ketu, the predictions based, they are stronger in their effect than even the planets. So just imagine how advanced our system was, where our rishis could predict the could do the prediction based on imaginary nodes. That advanced it was and so many years ago. So Western is fairly a new system, probably second century CE or something. Yeah, fairly new, and it is tropical in nature. So they fix the equinox points, So the points, it's a equinox, vernal equinoxes are fixed. So it's a tropical system of astrology, and ours is a nakshatriya. So we give a lot of importance to the stars, the constellations. Very, very, yeah. So that's why our calendar is, we have Kala Nirnay, we have Panchanga, which is moon, driven by moon, not by sun. So
Okay, so second, in the second slide, yeah. When you say geocentric as seen from the Earth, so from the Earth means, because even Earth, there are so many positions. So which position would you consider as a base of that geocentric?
So from where that person was born. So see, actually,
Okay, that is how the location comes in the picture.
yeah, location of that person. So actually, see, this the Earth moves around the sun, right? But when we use a geocentric language, we'll say the sun has risen in the east and the sun has set in the west. Actually, the sun is not coming in the east. We are moving, right? But then that becomes very complex. So Jyotish is geocentric, as seen from the Earth, and as far as Hora Shastra is concerned, as seen from the place where that person was born. So somebody born in Mumbai at so and so time and so date, what were the positions, and all that is reflected in the in the horoscope as is basis. So there is no Ayansh. I mean, there is one more system in Vedic, but generally in Parashar system there is no adjustment for Ayansh, etc. It's all as is basis. So in that sense, where the person was born. That is why it is geocentric, as seen from the Earth.
So then the place of the birth would also make a difference on his horoscope, you mean?
Very much. They say every 4 degrees will completely change a horoscope. Every change in, of course, every 1 degree change also will this, but impacts are lesser. So accuracy of place and time is important to make a more accurate prediction.
If somebody's time is not written properly, for example, 5-10 minutes ka difference hoga, then
yeah, so there is something called a correction of a horoscope, but let's not get into that because I personally don't do that. So 5-10 minutes, what happens is, what's important is to see if the ascendant is changing. So 5-10 minutes may not impact as much, but the way it will impact is, if you have a question very pointed, will I get married next week? Now to come to that accuracy, a 5-10 minutes difference will make a difference. I may go wrong. But whether I'll get married in this quarter, yes, then I can, doesn't matter if that 5 minutes difference.
oh, so that is how the time is important, in the birth time. Okay. Now, next question is, when you say planets moving while moving in their orbit create vibrations. So these vibrations, do they affect us physically? Because since you have written, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, as I said, see, the sun, etc., and moon is pretty evident in it is in psychology. It is, yeah. So do they do, like for example, every planet is has a karya kattva, means it the aspect of life that a planet will affect. So for example, the sun is supposed to be the atma karak or the pitru karak. Is supposed to be the matru karak or a mana karak. Buddha, Mercury is supposed to be vacha karak or vani karak or buddhi karak. So for example, if Mercury, sometimes I may see this Sanskrit names are Buddha. So if my Mercury is afflicted, it's benefic, it's badly afflicted, that in somebody's horoscope, that person may really have some speech, could have a speech issue, or may not be very confident in talking. And these are seen, for example, the second house is the house for wealth, the second bhav or the second house in a kundali, and if that house is afflicted, not by afflicted by malefic planets or has a malefic influence, we may see that person earning a lot, but also, you know, the wealth not accumulating. It may just drain off. So
Okay.
planets do, yeah, they do play a huge role. Actually, I would say each planet, each of the and of course even the newly discovered planets like Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Of course, the database for Uranus, as I said, you know, it's all empirical. The database for Uranus, Neptune is very limited, but within the limited knowledge that we have, yes, we can do certain predictions even for those planets. But the key planets, the key 7 planets, definitely.
Okay. Uh, can we go to the next slide?
Yes. Mm, yeah.
At the time sign which I think, okay, this you have just answered, because how the
Yeah.
moon affects us, the sign in which the eastern Mahadashas,
Yeah.
Antardashas. Okay.
So
That's empirical
when,
for
yeah,
Jyotisha. I think
yeah,
that
no,
maybe define in a few lines that what is Mahadasha, Antardasha, and how it
correct,
affects. Yeah.
correct, correct. So at the time of the baby's birth, there, whenever, you know, there is always a sign on the eastern horizon, and that is supposed to be a ascendant. So, for example, I'm a Virgo ascendant because when I was born, at the time, place, and date of birth, Virgo was on rising on the eastern horizon. Okay, so that is my ascendant. So that is my lagna, janma lagna or ascendant. Okay, where the sign in which the moon is the moon sign or the Chandra Rashi. The
Hmm.
sign which the sun is a sun sign, or which the Western, of course, the Western astrology, there are mistakes because they have fixed a point. So, for example, my sun sign according to Western astrology is Taurus, but
Hmm.
actually in my Janma Kundali, my sun is in Mesh. It is in Aries, because they have Western astrologers have fixed the so Taurus begins from so and so date to so and so date, and it keeps changing, as you rightly said. You know, planets also keep changing, everything keeps. But actually, when I was born, my sun was in the Mesh Rashi, was in Aries, not in Taurus. So so that is at the time of birth. Now the nakshatra, so every nakshatra, every star has a lord, assigned lord. You know, for example, Mrugashirsha nakshatra's lord is Mars, Mangal.
Hmm.
So the nakshatra, the moon, the nakshatra in which the moon is determines your Mahadasha at the time of birth. So, for example, the moon was in Mrugashirsha Nakshatra at the time of my birth. Let's take my example because that's easy for me to recollect. And the Lord of Mrugashirsha is Mangal. So, when I was born, the Mangal Mahadasha was going on. So, it was this. And then every Mahadasha has a particular order. So, Ketu, Shukra, Ravi, Chandra, Mangal. So, Ketu, Venus, Sun, Mars. So, it comes in a particular order for a particular number of years. So the Mars Mahadasha is 7 years. The Venus is the longest, 20 years. Saturn is 19 years. So Rahu is 80. So and so forth. So in that particular order, the Mahadasha will come. Within the Mahadasha, there are Antardashas in the same order. And within the Antardasha, there are Pratyantardashas in the same order. So like that. So it's a lot of calculation. But
Yeah.
thankfully, and you just imagine all this was being calculated by 100 years. I mean, why 100? I think even
50 years.
20 years ago by hand.
And yes, true.
1 year I have spent in with late Shri Ranade sir. 1 year I have spent in only calculations in casting the horoscope manually. But now, thanks to all the software, we don't have to spend time on that. That happens quickly. What is important is the interpretation. But all this, it's beyond my imagination that how they were calculating everything by hand.
But I guess that is where our mind, the capacity of mind comes in the picture,
Yes,
that how mentally you can calculate. And
yes,
I guess
yes.
mentally we were better earlier. The earlier generation was better than us. So I think
Absolutely.
that's the reason. Okay, next slide.
Okay.
Next.
So, yeah.
No, this empirical you have described.
Yeah.
This,
So this is the same.
yeah. Empirical is same. Next. There's just one more question left. No, next.
That's it, I think.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's go to the second question, whether everything is predefined or predestined or pre-decided, then why do I need to live my life and do anything?
Very true and very interesting, right?
Yeah.
Let me go into the presentation mode. Okay. Okay. So if everything, yeah. Uh, so let's try to connect astrology with the Bhagavad Gita. And one of the underlying principles of Bhagavad Gita is Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga, Karmanya Vadikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana. So do your karma without being attached. Okay. And karma means what? Effort, right? And let me quote Yog Vasishta here. So self-effort can be, according to Yog Vasishta, can be divided into two categories. One of the past incarnations and one of the current birth. And the self-effort of the past life is called destiny. And Yog Vasishta in fact goes ahead to say that destiny, what we know as destiny, is fictitious. Fate is fictitious, he says. See, what happens is Krishna says, bahune me vyatitani janmani tava charjana. Okay, so I have lived many lives, and so have you, Arjun. Shri Krishna says that I remember all, you don't, and that's where our trouble lies. We just know our one life. Okay, so we try to tell ourselves, okay, I'm doing so much effort, I'm kind of putting in hard work, but nothing is happening. We are not aware what we've done in the previous lives. We don't know how that is affecting us. So whenever I do whatever questions I get on a horoscope, the first thing I do is calibrate a personality of an individual, his strengths, weaknesses, and personality of an individual. The way he comes into this earth is nothing but a reflection of all his past karmas, of the past lives. So let's come to some of the quotes of Gita, Bhagavad Gita. Shri Krishna says, Jatasya hi dhruvar mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmat pariharyate na tvam sochitum aharsi. So whoever takes birth dies, and whoever dies takes birth definitely. So we know the power of Atma. Let's not even call it soul, because soul is a weak translation of Atma. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakah, na chainam kleda yantyapo, na shoshayati marutah. With the Atma, it is eternal. It cannot be broken by weapons, cannot be burned by fire, cannot be drenched by water, nor can be withered by wind. Similarly, vasansi ajirnani retha vihaya navani grunati naroparani. Just as a human being throws clothes, old worn clothes, and wears new ones, the Atma also throws old bodies and wears new ones. Similarly, it goes through dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara. It goes through all the childhood, youth, old age, and will similar acquire a new body. So that's what Shri Krishna tries to explain to Arjun when he is deluded, when he's in moha, when he doesn't want to fight. That's what he starts with that. He starts with the strength of Atma, and that Atma is eternal. He says, Bahunime, as I said, Bahunime Vetitani Janmani Tavachajuna Tanyam Veda Sarvani Natvam Vitha Parantapa. So what does it mean? That it is not one life. It is the Atma travels from one body to another. And that's where the Karma Yoga carries on. It continues. So I have developed a concept of a karma balance sheet, and let me take you through that, if that will be interesting to study. So it's not one life. So as I said, when I calibrate the personality of an individual, I think I have so there are many quotes. One of them is, which I like, is tatratam buddhi sayogam labhate paurvadeikam yatate cha tato bhuya samsiddho kurunandana. So the Atma carries the impressions of the previous birth into the next. Then you have the Mana Kosh, Prana Kosh, Ananda Kosh, Vijnana Kosh. So the Mana and the Prana are left, but the impressions of all the other koshas are carried, and that's what Shri Krishna says. And that is nothing but the personality that an individual is born with. Now, I'll share with you one of my scorecards, as I call my astrology scorecard. I think this is 19 scorecard. And so, as I said, whatever question a person may have, whether it is studies, education, career, relationship, I'll first calibrate his or her personality. even if I have not met the person, I've just probably spoken to the person on the phone, I can almost tell 90% about the person's strength, whether it's outdoor person, whether he or she has fear of water, or whether he or she loves art or science or math, or whether he's an introvert, extrovert, good orator, whether he's short tempered. All that can be told just by the birth chart, just by the birth chart and the various other subcharts, of course, also, and the position of the planets. So that is what the first thing I do. And I have found that I'm fairly 85-90% there. All my consultations so far, I've kind of, people have said, yes, these 5 things are right. So for example, I've probably predicted about 40 things in the first case, 22 things in the second, 36 came right. In the second one, 20 came right. In the third one, 20 out of 22 came right, and so on and so forth. So, and see, not necessary that every horoscope will, for example, I have 5 horoscopes. All 5 may not tell me the same. Educational aspect may not come out strongly. In some horoscopes, education may come out very strongly, a story about that. In some, health may come out. In some, maybe the career path. In some, a relationship, marriage, or these things. So depending upon the horoscope, I can do a personality prediction, and whatever comes out, some comes right, some comes wrong also. So what I'm trying to say is that definitely these verses help astrologers to understand that the basic personality of an individual, how he is come about, in this life, and then what kind of decisions he or she is likely to take. And uh, so basically, also, uh, so how do we find solutions to problems? So people come for solutions, right? And of course, there are solutions in astrology, there are solutions in Jyotish, but the first thing Krishna says is Uddaret Atmana Atmanam. Natmanam avasadayete. Atmeva Atmano Bandhur, Atmeva Ripuratmana. So one should use the divine strength of one's own Atma to uplift oneself. So Atma can become your best enemy or your biggest friend. And the question was, is it destiny? Does God decide everything? And Krishna says, no kartutvam na karmani. Lokasya srijati prabhu. It is swabhavastu pravartate. I don't do anything. I don't decide the phala of the karma. I don't decide your karma. I don't decide the results. It is the prakriti in you. Prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishati. It is the prakriti in you that decides your actions, that decides your free will. So free will has such a huge importance in Bhagavad Gita, and that is what plays in our life also. The only thing is, I said, we don't remember our past lives. Vaishali, even the decisions that you took at the age of 15 and the decisions now when you're taking at your age now after another 15 years of experience are pretty different. Why? Because of the experience, right? But you remember 15 years ago, you don't remember your past lives. And that's where the imbalance in our mind happens, So also, so what is important, the biggest solution I tell is first have faith in yourself, have a goal. Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam pruthak vidam vividhashta pruthak cheshta daivam chaivatra panchamam. So here Krishna is saying 20% to daiva. So there the 5 things are required to accomplish anything according to Krishna, Shri Krishna. So adhishthan, a goal. Karta, somebody who is doing it, you yourself, you're doing it, right? Karana, the various instruments you have, the senses, the sensory organs, and the various methods, the cheshta to accomplish these actions, and the daiva. Krishna says that last 20% is daiva. But I would say this daiva is nothing but our free will that we have used in the past, which has come in the form of daiva. There is nothing separate daiva out there to determine that this will happen in your life. Whatever you have done in the past has come to be now. So that's important. And this is one concept that I developed over the years, over the last few years, actually. Karma balance sheet, I call it, Basically, this entire Gita, you can translate into a balance sheet. And so you would know, right? You are a business woman too, and you would know every business has a balance sheet. Small, big, multinational, or local, or whatever, even a shop. One has a balance sheet, a profit and loss account. So you have a liability side and you have an asset side. So liability, you have typically an equity, loan, fixed asset side, you have fixed assets and working. And I'm a finance professional, so this is more, dear to me. So I would say the equity is the purva sanchit. That is the balance of all the past karmas that we have brought into this life. The loans are the karma, the ancestors that you're drawing from, the karma of the ancestors. The fixed assets is your own body that you're born, your intellect, your mind, your body, your convictions, your emotions. And the working capital is a situation in which you have taken birth. That is the resources, the family, the society, your neighborhood, whatever is available to you, that is the working capital. So this is all we come with. And this also, of course, changes with your karma every year. You do a balance sheet every year, every month, every day, you can do that. So this is what a person comes with in this life. And how do we conduct karma? So our dharma, Sanatan Dharma, is basically based on three important principles. That is endurance in conduct, achar sahishnata, freedom of thought, vichara swatantra, free will. It's here also, and niti dharma drudata, righteousness, the conviction in righteousness. And with these convictions, we undertake our life. We do our day-to-day responsibilities, duties, whatever we have to do, our goals, our ambitions, everything, we work towards it. And this I will map it to the profit and loss account. That is our current life's account that we lead. So we have come with a balance sheet. Our current life is the profit and loss account. At the end of our life, this life, which we know, if we have done good karmas, if the net is good, it's a profit, it gets added to the equity. If it is a loss, it gets reduced from the equity, it's a bad karma. So, and that's how the life continues from one life to another. Jatasya hi dhruva mrityu, dhruvam janma mritasya cha, from one life to another, the balance sheet will continue. And sometime it will tally. That is my conviction. It may not tally in this life, but in some life it will tally. And so how do we conduct ourselves? What does Krishna says? So should we just leave to divert to what we have done in the past? No. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Do your jobs daily. Even to maintain your body, you need to work. You cannot sit idle. You means one cannot sit idle. And Shreyan Swada, how do you do your work? Do what comes naturally to you. Do what you're passionate about. Do what you're gifted about. Or do what you feel. And in the righteous framework, one cannot say I'll do what I please, so I'll do drugs. No. Do what is right. The niti dharma is extremely important too. So Shreyan Swadharmo Viguna, Paradharma Svanashritat. So Dharme Nidanam Shreya, Paradharmo Bhayavaha. That's what Krishna says. And of course, there are so many verses, I can, entire 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita are all about Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga, Samatva Buddhi, righteousness, free from desires, Sthita Prajnata. Yoga Vasishta also says, in this world, whatever is gained only by self-effort. When failure is encountered, it is where we call it failure. I'm trying so much, but not happening. It is slackness of effort. We blame it on fate, but fate is fictitious. It is not seen. So because we restrict ourselves to this one life, And Krishna goes on to say, Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana. I don't need to do any duty, but I don't need to attain anything. I am everything, but yet I'm doing my responsibility. Yet I'm doing my duty of cleaning the cows, cleaning the horses, doing my nitya karma, niyatam kuru. So ultimately it's, I would tell that by constantly, free will or destiny, I would say by constantly striving to be on the right path, we unconsciously keep shaping our destiny. We are ourselves shaping our destiny. There's nobody out there who is doing a destiny for us. It's ourselves doing it. And beautiful, 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna explains when he gets deluded, he says, Kulakshay Pranakshanti Kuladharma Sanatana. Arjun says that, my kula is going to my dynasty is going to get destroyed because of the war. I don't want to go out for war. I want to go and take sannyas. This is not for me. Then he goes into the Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, all of that into 18 chapters. At the end of it, he says, Itite Jnanam Akyatam Guyat Guyataram Maya Vimrusheta Dasheshena Yathachasi Tatha Kuru. I have explained to you everything that I needed to explain. It has a lot of depth. you contemplate on it, and at the end, do what you think is right. Even Sri Krishna says, Arjun, at the end, do what you think is right. So much is the importance of free will. I would say it's everything is about free will. I mean, I would say free will creates destiny, in my opinion, in my limited opinion and knowledge that I have, I would say that. The only thing is we don't know our previous lives. We don't know, we don't remember our previous karma. That is where the dichotomy arises in our minds, that nothing is happening, and why am I required to face this? Whatever I'm required to face? But yeah, we must have done something previously, which we need to balance off, cancel off, strike off, and come out of it. So yes, so positivity, I think, is very, very important in addressing anything in life. Of course, I prescribe a lot of mantra chanting to my clients, and I have seen the effect of mantra japa, either likhit or oral, actually working. It takes time. It doesn't happen like, it's not an instant painkiller, but it works. It has worked personally for me and for many of my clients. Okay, so that's my presentation.
Very interesting and very convincing also, because you have answered quite a few of the questions. Because and of course, when you take the base of Bhagavad Gita, then we can't go wrong, because there are so many shlokas which gives answers to all our questions. It is just that how to put them, in the right place, as in the right question and the right answer, and to find the right shloka for that particular question is a matter of study. Like if you have studied Bhagavad Gita very well, you know where the answer is.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry.
No, as I was saying, the Bhagavad Gita or any mantra, it's a journey. It doesn't happen in one day. We have to make a start. And what it does is, it may not give a solution. That is, it may not change our situation. The situation may remain the same, but our ability to face the situation and to come out of it certainly improves.
That is true. That is true. I've realized that. Okay, so I had couple of other questions which we have yet to discuss. Um,
So can I stop sharing this now?
yes, you can do that, please. Yeah. I wanted to know that planets and the other celestial bodies described in Vedic astrology compared to the modern science. So, for example, what is a thing which we knew and the modern science still doesn't know? Like, okay, now they know the planets and all that, but is there anything which they don't know and which is described? Or maybe you can give example of the thing which we knew for thousands of years, like planets and all that, which they have started very recently. So that comparison I want to know, basically.
So I think everything they have picked up from us only. I mean, they Western astrology, at least from astrology point of view, I would say, I'm not a science student, but astrology, I don't think they knew anything, right? It all came about very currently, maybe 2000 years ago. And whereas our rishis knew it thousands of years, as I said, 14,000 years ago, we knew what the nakshatras were. So in that sense, they have taken everything from us. They follow a slightly different. I'm not saying they're inaccurate or something. I wouldn't know, because I'm not. I know what is Western astrology, but I don't practice Western astrology. I have practiced Parashara system only. But in that sense, like, they don't use a nakshatra at all. They don't use stars at all in their predictions. Is what I think I know. In that sense, we knew quite a bit many years ago, not just now, but like thousands of years ago, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, so my question is, can they do any prediction based astrology? Because I don't see in zodiac sign you can't predict. You can just predict certain personality and all that. Like, I know I follow personality trails based on Western philosophy, the astrology, but they can't predict, right? Where is the accuracy?
I don't know whether they can predict, because I have not been to any Western astrologer. So honestly, I don't know. Yeah, it's better not to make a judgment, because
Okay, so how planets affect our life? Why do we say the planets affect? So it is the planet which is, whether my question is also right, whether planet is affecting us, or it is our destiny which is designed, and based on planetary positions.
See, as I said, you're born with certain planetary positions in your life, right? That determines what your strength can be, what your weakness can be, and your overall personality. but what actions you take therefrom will also change. Your destiny will change every day based on your karma of yesterday.
Okay.
And for example, somebody who's inclined to art based on the planetary. Now, how much ever that person, wants to do math may not be successful. So there is no point, right? There's no point in somebody who's an indoor person and who hates running, and planets you can make out, a sports person, if the Mars is strong in a particular situation, one can say that he likes outdoors. This person must be liking outdoor sports a lot. Or if some, based on the Venus position, somebody can say, one can say that he may be a very artistic, creative person. Now, for example, to expect the person to switch is not logical also, right? If one has strength in a particular thing which is also corroborated by the planetary position, it is better to take effort in that particular area only. For example, many times people ask me, should I leave my job and do business? Now, seventh house, for example, is one of the houses that we need to study for seeing whether the person will be good. Now, if whatever desire that person may have, to start a business, and very inherent desire, but the planets are completely not favoring him, the amount of effort he or she will have to take will be like many times multifold. He may succeed. I'm not saying that planets will determine success, no, but the effort will be much higher then. Whereas keeping in a job, rising in the job, in your designation, and might be easier for that person rather than completely changing the route which is not supported by planets. The kind of effort will be Hercules, Herculean
Okay, so
effort.
then you believe that if the efforts are put in, then it would change. So, for
It
example,
can.
I would take the example of Vishwamitra ji. He was
Yeah.
born as a Kshatriya, but then he
Yeah.
wanted to be, wanted to be called a Brahmin or whatever he achieved. But then, of course, he had to wait for thousands of years to get that.
Yeah. So
That
effort is, yeah. And also, this Varna system, this is recent, this Brahmin, Kshatriya. In those times, it was based on the deeds, and every Varna, like in Bhagavad Gita, you would know, Krushi, Goraksha, Vanijam, Vaishya, Karma, Sabha, the rules of following every Varna were there. So there was flexibility. Anybody could follow any Varna. It was not by birth in those times. It is now in the last 200 years that this thing of Varna, all that has come about,
same caste and
now,
same. Yeah, I always give example of Bajirao because by birth he was a Brahmin, but he was the
yes,
greatest warrior. You
Kshatriya,
know,
by
yeah,
karma.
it's a Kshatriya dharma which
Yes,
he performed, and by
yes,
birth he was a Kshatriya. He was a Brahmin, born in a Brahmin family. So at
yes,
least till that point, 1700, 1800, also
yes,
they were not practicing it so strongly.
yes. No,
I
sorry.
mean,
Yeah, yeah,
profession was not based on that, at least.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Shivaji, Shivaji, born Kshatriya, Maratha, but in his family, that near the thread ceremony, the Munja, they
Munja,
perform, and that is as recent as 1600s.
yeah, it's not very old.
Yeah, not very, yeah, it was very common, for even everyone to follow that thread ceremony for, in fact, even for girls. Why only boys? The thread ceremony used to be performed even for girls. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. So, now I want to understand what all books are available on astrology for anyone to study. Do you know any manuscripts which are preserved anywhere in any
Okay.
university? And how do they study? The modern and the older, both the writers.
So there are many books available. Okay, to start with, one can start with to get into an idea. Any the crux is the Brihat Parashar Hora Shastra. So there is Bhrigu Samhita. There is books on Krishnamurti Paddhat. There are books on Varahamir's Samhita. Then which others? Lal Kitab, Krishnamurti Paddhat. Many. But I would say that. Somewhere everybody will fall back on Parashar. The fundamentals that Parashar Rishi has given, I don't think no one should ignore that. Not even the Western astrologers, I would say. Even if somebody wants to do Western, Parashar Hora Shastra is a must read for everybody. And that is easily available. I have one of Ranjan publications. Yeah, easily available. And so Parashar Hora Tantra is something one should not ignore, any student of astrology. And it is not something that one reads and that's it. No, I am reading it for the last possibly 18, 17, 18 years. And I'm still reading it because it is so huge that, you have to keep at it. And plus you have to keep adding. Like then I would read books on Krishnamurti, I would read books on Prashna Kundali, I would read books on a little bit on Jaimini, but not much, but more on Prashna Kundali, Krishnamurti, and these kind of things. But Parashar Hora Shastra is something one student shouldn't ignore.
Okay. Okay. So, what do you think about how do you how this astrology can help and this knowledge can help resolve help in personality conflicts? Like, because nowadays we don't opt for the knowledge, especially students. I want to ask you this question for the students.
Student point.
Someone is having inclination towards, say, art, and they go for medical science, which is completely different. So how
Correct.
do they make this choice, and how do they know while growing up, how do they know which
Which
uh,
stream?
stream they should go to of knowledge, stream of knowledge, or
Hmm.
skill, which skill they should be good at?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
earlier it was mostly that you are born into a family and you follow your family
Yeah.
traditions, so that
Yeah.
profession based on that skill set was set. But
Yeah.
now that is not the case. So how this can help the students to choose the right stream?
Yeah, very good question and very, very relevant. Last 3 years, I have been, especially the last 2020 COVID times now, and even before that, the trend had started. A lot of parents have come to me with their teenager horoscopes of their children, 14, 15, that age group. When it is time for them to decide the courses, what kind of courses should they take, and what is the inclination, the parents probably are confused. He doesn't want to do this, but will he succeed only in football, for example, or will she succeed, she wants to only do viola, will she succeed only in viola? Those kind of questions they come with. So that this is one stream. And just to digress a little, last 2 years I've seen even couples dating each other coming for matchmaking. I'll come back to your question, but this was, I never experienced this 2 or 3 years ago, where only when for arranged marriage, people for matchmaking used to parents used to send their horoscopes for guna milan and the graha milan. But now even the dating couples come, especially when they want to take the relationship to a little serious level, they want to know whether it's worth it. Are we compatible? Is our compatibility good, and will it last? So okay, coming back to your question on students, no, definitely astrology can help. See, because one thing is with in fact, right now, go to think of it, the last 3 months I must have done at least 25 teenagers analysis, 25 teenagers, and same, children not knowing what to do, parents wanting them to do one thing, they wanting to do something else. See, what astrology will give is what are the suitable careers. It may not give one answer. For example, it would give me answers like, okay, law seems to be good for this individual, or science seems to be good, or he can be a good teacher. So there will be a lot of mix and match that can come out of astrology. A lot of possibilities, lot of options for that particular student. That he can be good at law, he can be good at teaching, he can be good at math, or. So I can give options to that person. I normally give options to that parent. That astrologer, I mean that student can do good in these 3 or 4 things, in these profession, or he can pursue tomorrow a great job with a government or with a bank or a financial institution if he keeps finance or math as his base. And if that works, it coincides with that boys or girls or that students requirement, it works for them, and that's what, then it makes it easier for them to take a decision as to which stream to take an admission into, or which courses to choose, or what to focus on. So it really helps. Astrology would really help. Vaishali ji?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Hi, Anshu, how are you? Namaste.
okay,
Isha.
so that and I understood, because I really feel that teenagers are really lost when it comes to selecting the right curriculum. And okay, so I think that's a very good and accurate, the expected answer, because people really want to know. Now, my last
The,
question:
yeah, and
how?
their challenge is to also manage pressure from parents. That is also their challenge. Not only
that-
they are confused, but their parents also confuse them. So
Okay, so how my last question is how astrology can help in your spiritual path, because yeah, because finally at the end that is what we want to achieve. But then I don't know if astrology can help you in that.
So, no, definitely. In fact, a spiritual path can help astrologers also, to kind of improve themselves. See, Adhyatma is a journey. It's not, he can sit, Gitanshu can sit. Hi, Gitanshu. Hi, Gitanshu. Come, sit. Come, sit down. Listen to me. Okay. Yeah. He wants something. You're on mute. You're on
Yeah, yeah.
mute.
He wants to watch YouTube on phone, which we don't allow. So we allow him on the TV, but not on the phone, and that's what
On
he's
the
struggling.
phone.
Okay, anyway, so yeah, so you were answering this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, coming to in some sense, taking care of him is adhyatma for you. Taking care of Kitanshu, being with him is your adhyatmic journey till the time he grows up and doesn't need you. See, we go to gym, right? Why do we go to gym? To build our muscles, for example. One goes, we means one may go, and it doesn't happen overnight. So similarly, is adhyatma. We it's a spiritual journey, and just as we do weights to strengthen, we should, I think, do some kind of a meditation mantra to strengthen our adhyatmic path or our spiritual life, and it certainly helps us to take better decisions, or in better decision making, gives us mental strength, calmness, peace, and helps us in various ways. I mean, I normally will prescribe mantra chanting to my clients, either based on what their ishta devata is, what their liking is, and that's what is also beautiful about Sanatan Dharma. We do not prescribe any one, do Vishnu or do Shiva. We have so much option. You can, and that is what is important. Whatever comes naturally. Suppose you're a Ganesh follower, I would, if somebody doesn't have a natural inclination, I will check the horoscope to see where, what kind of mantra japa, whose mantra should that, or which mantra should that person should chant. And it definitely goes a long way in improving, strengthening one's life, strengthening the ability to face a situation. Because mostly everybody who comes to me comes for some problem, for having a solution to some problem, or is facing some situation in life. So he or she really would benefit from japa, meditation. I normally would only give a japa or a mantra, for chanting, not. Yeah.
Yeah, so in astrology, we have stones, we have so many other
Yeah.
mantras, yantras.
Yes.
What
Yes.
is the percentage of success you get out of that?
Good question. Good question. So, according to me, I do not prescribe any stones or gems or even puja for that matter, because one thing, puja, we don't know how good that person doing the puja is, how authentic. That is one. Secondly, the gems part, the stones part, I think has very limited value. Those are effective only up to the dasha period or the antardasha period, not forever. It's not like you wear a Saturn ka stone and forever no, it never works like that. It is very limited use, and there is honestly no real guarantee. So why make the person spend so much? A mantra is something which is so internal. It not only helps solve your problems, it also makes you more strong, not only astrologically but otherwise also in life, to do whatever you want to follow your passion, your dreams, to achieve what you want to. So I would lay a lot of emphasis on mantra japa,
Okay,
rather
so
than.
mantra can help improvise internally our aura and cleanse our
Yes,
negativity within our body
yes,
and
very
all
much,
that. Yeah,
very much,
that
very much.
I've experienced, and I
Yeah,
believe it works.
yeah, very
So,
much.
how do I find my Ishta Devta? Because I have to find who to pray.
So
Like,
Ishtadeva
I
can be.
okay.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Ishtadevata can somebody whom you get attracted. So there are so many people who get attracted to Shivaji, so many to Krishna, so many to Vishnu. I'm a Devi Bhakta, for example. My Devata is Devi, and nobody has told me. It has been Devi only since many years now. So I do Saptashati, I do japa chanting from the Durga Saptashati, etc. So Ishta Devata is something you get attracted to, or from your horoscope, depending upon your problems and the positioning of certain strong benefic planets, I prescribe the mantra. Depending upon, suppose moon is very benefic, very strongly placed, and moon dasha is going on, I would give some Shivaji mantra like that. So, or it could be a Kula Devata also. Some people strongly believe in Kula Devata. So, whatever you believe strongly is important. Just me giving a mantra may not help. No?
That's wonderful. I think you've answered most of my questions, which are related to about free will in astrology and what is the percentage of our efforts and the results which you get. So I think it was a wonderful session.
Thank you.
Except that we got disturbed. Otherwise,
That's
it was
fine.
just a wonderful session.
That's
Thank you so
life.
much. Yeah,
Thank you.
that's life. I take
Thank
it
you,
very light, and
Jagdamba.
I don't project, I don't pretend to be, I don't, if he comes, I don't deny him because
Right.
my first
Absolutely.
duty towards him. So
Yes.
he's fine.
That's your karma.
Yeah, that's my karma, right?
That's your karma.
Thank
Your
you.
Swadharma.
Yeah, Swadharma, actually. Yeah, very
That's
true.
your Swadharma. Yes.
True. So thank you so much, and it was wonderful having you with our audience. I want to tell people that you will get this video, this conversation on YouTube tomorrow on Hindu Scriptures channel, and of course it is there on Facebook page as usual. It will be there. And thank you, Ashwini ji. Thank you so much.
My
Namaste.
pleasure. Jagdamba. My pleasure.
Jagdam.